Welcome to Agent After Hours. I'm Tyler Morton.
And Ann Taylor with M&M Title.
Welcome.
Hi. How are
Today
you?
we've got another segment of What If, and the $100,000 over listing price question of the day is, what happens if you have multiple escalation clauses on a particular property?
Okay. So, and I assume we're taking this from the listing agent / seller
Yes.
vantage point.
Yep.
All right. So what if that happens? Not that that would ever happen.
Never.
One thing I want to mention is that, first of all, Dayton, and I know Cincinnati's had this form for a while, Dayton now has an escalation form. It is hot off the press. So today is
Awesome.
April 26th, 2021, and it was just approved by the Board of Directors, so it should be rolled out this week. I think it'll be available to people soon.
Because I think that is one of the hardest things that we have to deal with as listing agents is that the language in these escalation clauses varies drastically. You know, it's some of them are gross offers, some of them are net offers, and what does that mean?
Right,
So-
and that's the biggest pitfall for agents, because your clients are relying on you to help them understand and explain, and you can't make any assumptions in this. I know some agents will talk to their clients about it. Obviously, you have to follow your client's directive. They may say, fine, let them flow. Some will say, no, it is too complicated. There's a risk that if the escalation is over such and such net, and you didn't calculate that net right, but your client, your seller, signs off on it, and you present it back to the buyer's agent, and they say, well, I need the validating contract, so you give it to them, and they say, well, hold on. You're saying this is our final price, and that's fine that we have this accepted contract, but really, it's this down here. And they have an oh no moment, we'll say. And so the reason the Dayton Area Board came out with this is to try and find some consistency. Obviously, people don't have to use that, but as a seller's agent, if your client is going to consider escalation clauses, it would be smart to have those in a consistent form and format so that it is much easier to try to compare apples to apples to apples versus apple to orange to elephant to
Sure.
car, you know.
Can I back up 1 second
Yeah.
and ask, what is the best practice? Because we do receive a lot of offers that say must present a valid copy of the next highest offer so that you can exercise that.
If there's a
Escalation.
confidentiality clause in any of the offers, you cannot
Redact
do
it?
that. But you can redact identifying information.
Sure.
And identifying information, don't just cross out the names, because if they have a contingency or a reference to the sale of their other home at such and such address,
Right.
then I can verify who it was. Ultimately, if it ever came to some type of litigation, and please keep in mind, keep all of your offers no matter what. They don't
Yeah.
have to be the accepted offer. You do need to keep those. But then you would have to be able to fully validate it, because there's always concern, what if someone makes something up?
Right.
I guess if there's the concern that you're dealing with someone that's committing fraud, you've got much bigger problems.
Sure.
So I don't know how to solve that one. But obviously, don't commit fraud. Do be prepared in the event of litigation to present that to the other party. Understand the escalation clauses. Understand how to calculate the net. And the Dayton Board form, it describes what net is. Net of what? Because one form will say net of these costs. Another one will say net of these costs plus tax prorations, which is a very meaningful thing.
Right.
You also have to factor in, one had this closing date, one had that closing date, which aside from, and it does not include other carrying costs that are utilities.
I was gonna say, that
and
does
upkeep.
affect the net.
It does, though, but it doesn't include those. But if you're going to calculate net, you have to do it to the date of the contract based on what's been
All
provided.
the prorations and everything.
Yeah. A lot of sellers really don't want to mess with that.
No.
They'll go back and just say, give me your best offer.
Yeah.
And then we're going to consider it from there.
Well, and I think, now we're a year and a half deep in this market.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think after kind of everything unlocked, if you will, after the quarantine last year, or the stay-at-home order, that's when we saw things start exploding. So we've seen escalation clauses for a while now. So I think agents are better versed in escalation clauses, but still the question I get is, what happens when you have multiples? Do they have that eBay style of bidding where they work against each other?
And they do.
Sure.
And they can. I mean, I guess you could write in a clause where they won't, but they will. Just on escalation clause after escalation clause, they will. This escalates this to this
So
to
if mine
this.
goes to 250,000 on a $220,000 house and yours goes to 255,
Right.
and with a $5,000 jump above the next highest, that would in fact exercise the 255.
Yes, but as with anything, don't get price fixed because there could be other caveats. Again, I'm talking about the board form in this moment, but there are so many that I've seen. One of them said, and we guarantee the appraisal, but only if the one we escalate over equally guaranteed that appraised amount.
Oh, wow.
And so now you've got so many moving parts, and it can become very challenging to get at what they really mean. And if you don't know what they mean, again, don't make any assumptions.
This is why we have a show called What If. 'Cause there's a lot of what if scenarios in this, right?
There is. It's like those nesting dolls, like one within another within another. And so don't assume you know what they mean. If you don't think it's abundantly clear what they mean, you want to restate it. Don't be afraid to counteroffer on it. Everybody wants to accept an offer as is and not have to counter. Restate what you think it means, and then make that your counteroffer. So in that case, you would presumably be countering with the same offer you think you received, but hopefully with more clarity, or reword it to provide the additional clarity.
Make it easier to digest, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add to it?
Oh boy.
I'm sure we could spend another
We could.
45 minutes on the topic.
We
but-
could, yeah. No, just exercise caution, and because we're talking about them doesn't mean we're encouraging them. There are a lot of agents and clients getting into trouble with them. And so really important with any escalation clause, especially if you're going to talk about guarantees with appraisals, that you have talked to the lender. And just because your buyer has the funds to cover that appraisal guarantee, which hopefully they do if you're making it, you might now be creating an issue where they can't get qualified for the same loan terms because they just
Now they don't have reserves or whatever it may be.
That's it. That's exactly it.
So,
Yeah.
good advice.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Until next time.